Hey, everybody. It is Sunday, August 3rd, about 10 p.m. Central Time. If you're out there, drop a hello in the chat. So, this is just something I've been noodling over. And it's a new game for those of you who are wondering what your dominant function is. You could try this at home and let's see if this works. Um, so, it's a bit of a thought experiment. And here's how it goes. So imagine somebody calls you, and imagine you have a sister or some relative. Somebody calls you and says, "Hey, your sister's house just burnt down." Okay. Now, I'm pretty sure everybody's immediate reaction, no matter what their type is going to be, "Oh my God, is everybody safe? Is everybody okay?" Now, that's just an emotional reaction. I don't care what your dominant function type is, that's probably the way you're going to react. Um, but once you get over that, once you find out that everybody's fine, nobody got hurt, everything's okay, then the question is, where does the conversation go? And where do you put your attention? And I'm going to go through the different types and give you sort of my feeling on how you're probably going to respond given your dominant type. So really think about it for a second here. Um, so again, you got over the initial emotional reaction outside of cognitive functions. Everybody's okay. You so you got past that, and now where's the conversation going to go? Okay. So first, let's talk about the knowing types, or the knower types. Those are the lead SI and the lead NI. So the lead SI, ISTJs, ISFJs, their attention is going to be drawn to figuring out what happened, right? So they're knowing types. They want to know what happened. What was the situation? Who was there? When did it happen? Was it last night? Was it just right now? Who was there? Blah, 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 blah. Like all those details so that they can sort of build up that SI knowledge of what happened. Okay. And so they're going to, probably spend the next 5 minutes just trying to get as much information about that kind of stuff. The lead NIs, the INTJs, INFJs, are also going to want to know and sort of prod on the knowing stuff, but they're going to be more concerned about why it happened or how it happened, right? Especially those INTJs, like what caused it, right? Um, was it, did somebody leave a curling iron on? Did somebody fall asleep with a cigarette? That kind of thing. Like, why did it happen? They want to know the why. They might press a little on the details, but it's more about getting details to figure out why it happened. What was the underlying cause? Not so much like the SIs, where they just want to sort of recreate the event in their head and sort of vicariously live the experience for that SI knowledge. The NIs are more concerned about the why, right? So if you find yourself asking, why did it happen? What, was it a short circuit? Somebody leave a curling iron on, that kind of thing. That's a very NI kind of reaction. And when I found out that a school in my town had burned down, that was like my immediate reaction. Of course, after I found out that nobody got hurt, all that kind of stuff, my immediate reaction is, well, what happened? What caused it? Okay, so those are the knowing types. Now let's go to the interfacing types. So the extroverted thinkers, extroverted feelers. The extroverted feelers are going to be concerned about their attention is going to be drawn towards, let's gather up the troops, let's try to help in some way. I'm going to call so and so, and I'm going to call so and so, and we're going to all sort of collectively rally up the troops and help out, right? Help my sister out and come up with some sort of game plan. But not really a game plan more of a game plan of just making sure that the sister and the family or whoever was in the house, who lives in this house is okay and taken care of, right? The TE types are probably going to focus more on, hey, did they have insurance? Did they, what are they going to do? Like, do they have a place to live? Sort of this TE planning, like, okay, what are the next steps? What are they actually going to do? So less about sort of taking care of the people and making sure that they're sort of okay and taken care of, more about, what are sort of the logical steps we need to take to, so that these people have, somewhere to live. Are they, again, do they have insurance? Or, how are they going to afford to, are they going to rebuild the house? Are they going to have to move out? Is it totaled? That kind of stuff they're going to focus on, that sort of planning stuff. So a little bit of a difference. Both of them are going to want to plan out, but one is more sort of socially focused, where the other one is more pragmatic, like, dollars and cents. What's the plan of action focused? So those are your interfacing types. The action types. So the action types, lead SE or lead NE. The lead SEs, ESFPs, and ESTPs, they're just going to spring to action, right? They're going to just sort of say, okay, where are they? I'm going to go take some clothes over. I'm going to go take some food. It's not the planning in the way that the ESFJs and the ESTJs are doing. They're just springing to action. Like, what could I do to help right now? Is a very SP reaction. And if you've ever been around an SP in sort of a emergency situation, they're the ones who sort of spring to action and sort of take charge. And a friend who's a nurse, and she's probably ESFP, ESTP, but very SP. And, somebody was having some sort of, they were sort of fainting or something, like maybe close to a heart attack, something like that. And she just got up and sprung to action while everybody else was just sort of standing and watching and wondering what to do. And she went and got him water or juice or something to sort of wake him back up. So that's a very SP reaction, right? Let's just spring to action, and we're not really going to worry about a long-term plan. We're just going to do what needs to be done in the here and now. I'm going to take them clothes, I'm going to take them food, I'm going to make sure they're okay, and then we'll figure everything out, later. The NE, the ENTPs, ENFPs, I wouldn't dare to guess what their first thought is, because it's just going to be sort of whatever springs to mind in their NE world. But whatever it is, they're going to spend the next, 5 to 10 minutes talking about it, or sort of, coming up with different sort of subjects to talk about it until they finally sort of focus on one, maybe, or the other person sort of guides them to something. But I wouldn't dare to guess what a lead NE's first thought is going to be. And so if you're sort of like an outlier, and you kind of thinking like, oh, I had this whole series of thoughts, spring to mind, then maybe, it's dominant NE. But whatever it is, you're just going to talk, and try to come to some sort of resolution on what, if anything, to do with the person that called you. Okay. So those are the action types. Now the deliberation types. So lead FI, lead TI. So the lead FI, INFPs, ISFPs, they're probably going to focus on, is everybody okay? Like, really focus on, is everybody okay? I mean, they know everybody's safe, but like, how are they feeling? How are they doing? Did you talk to them? What's going through their mind? That kind of stuff. They also might want to figure out who is at fault, right? Who are we going to blame for this? That's also kind of an FI reaction, but more so, just sort of, putting themselves in the person's shoes, kind of thing, and making sure that, everybody is okay, not just safe and unharmed, but How are they doing emotionally? You know, are they holding up? That kind of thing. That's a very FI reaction. And then, of course, a TI reaction, ISTPs, INTPs, it's going to be something more like, well, technically, she's my stepsister. All right. So think about what your reaction was and where you might fall into that. And that might give you a clue what your dominant function is. All right. See you next time.